A great tool to understand yourself, to understand your shadow, to understand who you are in a core deep level is understanding astrology. And I know that's controversial, so I'm going to share my perspective on it and how you can apply it in your life. The best way to understand astrology is to break down the planets and see how those energetical forces play individually and then how the aspects together all mix up, making this connection within you that evokes this energy that it's unique to you. If we judge astrology based on a prediction of our sun sign, then we're dismissing every other planet below. All the astrological mixes and birth maps and all the conjunctions and 360 wheel of your unique psyche. Before you judge astrology, you have to dive deep into the mathematics and understanding and spirituality of it. Spirituality, it's more practical than you would think. And if you might see it, you don't understand it, that's totally okay. But the thing is, like, a lot of people just rush to an astrologer or to something they see online and they automatically judge astrology because they see it as this mystical, superficial thing where people are just predicting based on pseudoscience. But it's more astronomical than we would think. It's astronomy first and then astrology. Astrology is just more individualistic. It's more intuitive. It's more like a psychological tool for yourself. So basically, we all have all of these planets interlinked with a lot of aspects, with a lot of combinations that make up our personality, our psyche. Our psyche would be like in the Jung archetype, it would be ego, the collective unconscious, and then the shadow self. So that forms the 360 wheel of yourself. So I'm briefly going to explain what's going on inside your 360 wheel and how the planets uniquely play out. And then I'm going to do like an individual archetype of each planet because it's really about understanding how they play out together. So, take this out. The sun is what we see externally. It's the actions. It's the brightness. And then the moon is what we don't see. What's internal, the deepness, the unconscious. These are two cycles within you that are essential for your everyday functioning. So when we look at astrology, we practicalize it and we understand our sun sign and our moon, we understand those two basic core parts of ourselves. And then we understand how the aspects they have in your unique birth chart play out. And that creates an energetical force that is you. And in a way, that would be a way for you to understand your shadow self. Because it's understanding how your ego is playing out with your unconscious. For instance, I have my moon in Capricorn. Capricorn is in detriment in the moon. The moon is ruled by Cancer. The opposite of Cancer is Capricorn. What's Capricorn? Capricorn is an earth sign. An earth sign is ruled by Saturn. Stability, growth, everything that has to do with work, routines, structure. So when we look at the polar opposite and you see that I have the detrimental sign of Capricorn in my moon, I have the moon in Capricorn in the 4th house. That's the polar shift of my unique chart. We can see here the 360 wheel that I draw the other day. So there's 12 houses in the 360 astrological wheel. And within those 12 houses, that's where your rising sign is going to start. So my rising sign is Virgo. So that's where my 360 wheel will start, in Virgo. So I have Virgo in my 1st house. Then I have Libra in my 2nd house. Aquario in my 6th house, so on and so forth. So if I were to have my rising sign in Cancer, then my 1st house would be Cancer. Each house represents a sign. It's first the houses and then the signs. The sign is playing in, plus the planet is playing in, plus the aspect is playing in. These are all things that play together to decode a part of yourself. Each of the specific houses represents the area of life, and the energetical forces playing out is going to be influenced by the planets. The houses play out a stronger influence because they're the main structures of your 360 wheel. Wherever your planets are uniquely put in your 360 wheel, that's the area of your life that's going to be affected. wherever your rising sign starts, that's the first house. So the first house, it's the archetypal structure of Aries. Aries is the first, it's like the head of the ram. In Chinese mythological animals, they put Aries as like the ram because it's going head first. It's everything that's initial, beginning. The inner planets are the sun, the moon, Venus, Mercury, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. Those are the 7 main planets. Then we have the external planets. So Neptune, Pluto, and Uranus are external planets because they're influences that are in the far out there, astronomically. Using myself as an example, I'm a Pisces, 6th house, Virgo rising. As I talked about, the first house would be represented by the sign. Virgo rising would be playing out in the first house. The first house is how people see you. So that's the area of life. And then it goes on to the second house. The second house is your values. Taurus, it's the values you're going to attain. Then the third house is how you communicate. So everything that falls in the third house, everything that falls in your fourth house, everything that falls in the houses, every unique planet, and you can literally see this in like Astrology, which is an astrological website to put your birth chart. Every planet is going to play out a unique combination within your houses. And that can tell you so much about yourself because it's uniquely shaped for you. But it's very easy, again, to look at it from a surface and not understand it because it's not understandable. You have to decode how the energies uniquely play out and then how combined they form like a psychological wheel of yourself, of your psyche. And it's not to fully rely on everything that's going on in the horoscope. Like horoscope is basically, horo means hora, is Spanish, and then hora in Spanish is time, scoop in Greek, scooping. So you're scooping the time, the astronomy, and then you're applying that to your astrology, which is your own unique time, birth, location you were born at. So for me, I'm a rising sign Virgo. So my first house plays out the characteristics of a Virgo archetypal structure. But remember, it's the houses and then the signs. So it's always looking at the houses as the life situations and the signs as the energies. It's like the energy forces, and then the planets are the influences you are putting out. If you have a house that doesn't have any planet, then that doesn't mean that. So if you have a house that's empty, it doesn't mean that characteristics are not going to play out in that life situation. It just means that you are not putting that energy out because you're not using your planets. Your planets are not affecting those life situations because they're not placed in your birth chart. So here I have my Virgo rising sign in the first house. So that's the first life situation. The first house is your first breath in life. Your I am, your first house. That's Aries, that's a ram, that's the cerebellum. That's everything that has to do with action, doing, going towards it, everything you get. So when we look at my first house, I don't have any individual planets in there. So that means that I'm not putting anything out there with my energies. But I'm going to get energies upon myself because I have a lot of aspects in there. Virgo is ruled by Mercury. So Mercury is thinking, practicalizing, everything has to do with logic, playing around with your thoughts, creating new ones. So all of that have to do with the logic and the thinking and the way we practicalize our thoughts. That has to do with Virgo. Virgo is an earth sign. That's the difference between Virgo and Gemini. Both Virgo and Gemini are ruled by Mercury.